So, you think you've heard some bad landlord stories. Maybe your guy took a week to fix the geyser, or maybe he forgot about your deposit. Cute. That's like complaining about a paper cut when there's a guy next to you with a shark actively chewing on his leg. Because today we're not talking about your slightly annoying but ultimately harmless landlord. No. Today we're exposing the top 10 most corrupt landlords in South Africa. These aren't just business people, they are artists of exploitation, maestros of misery, the final bosses you have to beat before you can get your hot water back. The thing about corruption, especially in housing, is that it's not just about money. It's about dignity, it's about safety, it's about having a place to call home that isn't actively trying to unhome you. We're talking about people's lives being turned upside down by greed. Imagine paying your rent on time, every single month, only to live with overflowing sewage, collapsing ceilings, and the constant threat of being illegally kicked out onto the street. This isn't a hypothetical, it's the daily reality for thousands of tenants who are trapped by these slumlords. It's a systemic issue that preys on the vulnerable, turning a basic human right into a high-stakes gamble where the house always wins. So buckle up, we're about to journey into the heart of South Africa's rental darkness. We'll name the names, we'll show the evidence, and we'll shine a light so bright on these practices that even the cockroaches will need sunglasses. This is more than just a top 10 list, it's a call to action and a warning. We're going to get angry. We might even laugh a little at the sheer audacity of it all, but most importantly, we're going to get informed. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Kicking off our list at number 10, we have a man from Gekeberha, let's call him Mr. Davies. Now, Mr. Davies has a very unique business model, it's called deferred maintenance. But he's deferred it for so long it's basically abandoned maintenance. His tenants report living in conditions that would make a reality TV survival show look like a 5-star resort. We're talking about electrical wiring so exposed it looks like a modern art installation, and plumbing that has decided to become an indoor water feature. Except, the water is brown, and it smells like regret. The stories are genuinely heartbreaking. One family told us their ceiling collapsed in the middle of the night, right over their child's bed. They had been reporting the leak for 6 months. 6 months. You can grow a whole person in 9 months, but you can't get Mr. Davies to patch a roof. His response when they called him, panicking. Well, did anything get damaged? Not. Is everyone okay? But a question about property. It tells you everything you need to know about his priorities. The tenant's belongings were just collateral damage in his quest to collect rent without spending a single cent. And here's the kicker. The move that puts him squarely on this list. When tenants band together and decide to withhold rent until repairs are made, which, by the way, is a complicated legal area, but sometimes their only leverage. Mr. Davies doesn't send a plumber. He sends thugs, men who show up at all hours, banging on doors, threatening families, cutting off water and electricity illegally. It's a classic intimidation tactic designed to break their spirit, to make them feel powerless and isolated. It's not just negligence, it's calculated cruelty. He operates through a web of shell companies, making it incredibly difficult for anyone to pin him down legally. You sign a lease with Sunshine Properties, but the bank account is for Rainbow Investments, and the guy who shows up to threaten you works for Secure Solutions. It's a deliberate maze designed to exhaust and confuse people who are already struggling. They're just trying to have a safe place to live, and they're forced to become investigative journalists just to figure out who their actual landlord is. It's a full-time job nobody signed up for. So, Mr. Davies of Gekeberha, you're our number 10. You've perfected the art of taking people's money while providing them with a living nightmare. You've turned homes into hazards and tenants into targets. It's a disgraceful way to do business, and it's a perfect, albeit infuriating, start to our list of South Africa's worst landlords. The sad part is, we're just getting warmed up. The stories only get more shocking from here. Coming in at number 9 is a character straight out of a magic show, a woman from Hillbrow in Johannesburg who we'll call the Great Zandal. Her signature trick? Making your security deposit disappear. Poof. Gone. You think it's sitting safely in an interest-bearing account, as required by law. That's adorable. No, that money was probably spent on a new weave before your moving truck even left the curb. She is the David Copperfield of daylight robbery, and your hard-earned cash is her lovely assistant that gets sawed in half and never put back together. Her method is pure theatrical genius. When you move in, she's your best friend. Welcome to the family, she says with a smile that could power a small village. She's charming. She's helpful. She promises the world. The apartment is fine. It's got 4 walls and a roof, which, as we'll see later on this list, is a luxury. The problems start when you decide to move out. Suddenly, the great Zandile transforms. That warm, welcoming smile is replaced by a forensic investigator's scowl. She inspects the apartment with a magnifying glass and a white glove. I'm not even kidding. A tiny scuff mark on the wall from your couch? Ah, that's structural damage. We'll need to replaster the entire building. A bit of limescale on the tap? Catastrophic plumbing failure. That's your whole deposit gone, plus you owe me for the emotional distress. She creates a list of damages so long and so absurd, it reads like a fantasy novel. One former tenant was charged 2,000 rand for a faint curry smell that Zandile claimed had permanently infused the walls. How do you even fight that? Do you bring in a smell expert? Your Honor, the ghost of biryani past is not grounds for theft. The real corruption here is how she targets people she knows won't fight back. She preys on young people in their first apartment, or foreign nationals who might be unfamiliar with South African rental law, or afraid to cause trouble. She knows they're unlikely to have the time or money to take her to the rental housing tribunal. She's banking on you giving up. It's a volume business for her. If she steals 8,000 rand from 10 tenants a year, that's 80,000 rand tax-free. It's a lucrative side hustle built on exploitation. And if you do decide to fight, she ghosts you. Calls go unanswered. Emails bounce back. The address for her company is a post office box in another province. She becomes completely unreachable, a phantom who holds your money hostage. The great Zandile isn't just a bad landlord. She's a predator who has weaponized the system against the very people it's supposed to protect. She makes our list not for the scale of her operation, but for its sheer cynical precision. It's a reminder that sometimes the worst corruption comes with a smile and a handshake. At number 8, we venture to the beautiful city of Cape Town, where the housing crisis is being exploited by a man we'll call Mr. Hassan. His game isn't about neglecting repairs or stealing deposits, it's about human Tetris. He takes a standard 2-bedroom apartment, the kind meant for a small family, and crams 20, sometimes even 30 people inside. He partitions living rooms with drywall and curtains, turning every square inch of space into a bed, for which he charges a premium. It's a business model that thrives on desperation. These aren't just crowded living conditions, they are extreme fire hazards and public health disasters waiting to happen. Imagine one bathroom being shared by 30 people. One kitchen. The strain on the infrastructure is immense. The plumbing is constantly blocked. The electricity trips daily because of all the overloaded extension cords. But for Mr. Hassan, this is just good business. He's not renting out an apartment. He's selling square footage. He's collecting 1,500 rand per person from 30 people, turning a property that should yield 10,000 rand a month into a 45,000 rand a month cash cow. The people living in these conditions are often the city's most vulnerable low-wage workers, students and refugees who have no other options. They know it's unsafe, they know it's unsanitary, but the alternative is the street. Mr. Hassan leverages this desperation perfectly. He provides a roof, and I use that term loosely, at a price point that seems affordable, but the human cost is astronomical. There's no privacy, no peace, and a constant risk of disease or disaster. It's a modern-day tenement, hidden in plain sight. The corruption deepens when you look at how he gets away with it. He often pays off building managers or security guards to look the other way. He knows the city's inspectors are overworked and under-resourced, so if an inspection is scheduled, he gets a tip-off. He'll temporarily move people out, hide the makeshift partitions, and present the apartment as a normal family home. The moment the inspector leaves, the partitions go back up and the people are herded back in. It's a well-oiled machine of deceit. Mr. Hassan isn't just a landlord, he's a trafficker of living space, exploiting the housing shortage for personal gain. He's creating dangerous, subhuman living conditions and making a fortune from it, all while dodging regulations with bribes and deception. He represents a particularly insidious form of corruption that preys on the invisible population of our cities, the people who work to keep the city running, but have nowhere safe to rest their heads at night. It's a shameful enterprise that earns him a solid number 8 on our list. Prepare to feel sick to your stomach, because our number 7 spot takes us into one of the darkest corners of the rental market. In Bloemfontein, there's a landlord, let's name him Johan, who has taken exploitation to a horrifying new level. He doesn't just ask for rent in money. He preys on vulnerable women, particularly students or single mothers struggling to make ends meet, and offers them a disgusting trade: rent in exchange for sexual favors. This isn't just corrupt, it's predatory and criminal. This practice, often called sex for rent, is a gross abuse of power that blurs the line between landlord and predator. Johan advertises his properties on informal platforms, often with vague language, like special arrangement possible for the right tenant or open-minded female wanted. These are coded messages. When a desperate woman responds, he lays out his vile proposition. He makes it seem like a benevolent offer, a way for them to get by without financial stress, cloaking his predation in a thin veil of twisted generosity. The women who fall into this trap are caught in a nightmare. Their home is no longer a safe space. It becomes a place of constant fear and obligation. The landlord can show up at any time, unannounced, to collect. Refusal could mean instant eviction and homelessness. The psychological toll is immense. These women are stripped of their agency and their dignity, forced to endure repeated abuse just to keep a roof over their heads. They are isolated, often too ashamed or too scared to tell anyone what's happening. What makes Johan's actions so deeply corrupt is that he knows exactly what he's doing. He is systematically targeting women in crisis. He scrolls through online forums where people post about their financial struggles, looking for his next victim. It's a calculated hunting behavior. He's not just a landlord who happens to be a monster. He's a monster who uses his properties as a hunting ground. He leverages his position of power, the power to provide or deny shelter, in the most evil way imaginable. This is a crime that thrives in the shadows. Many victims never come forward, fearing judgment, retaliation, or that they won't be believed. Johan, and monsters like him, count on this silence. That's why he's on this list. We have to drag these practices into the light. This isn't a special arrangement, it's sexual exploitation. It's illegal, it's immoral, and it represents a level of corruption that turns a lease agreement into a prison sentence. Johan isn't just a bad landlord, he's a danger to society. Halfway through our list at number 5, we meet a landlord from Durban with a particularly nasty reputation. We'll call her Mrs. Peters. Her specialty isn't poor maintenance or theft, but illegal evictions. She operates with the subtlety of a bulldozer, using fear and misinformation to kick tenants out on a whim, often so she can hike the rent for the next person. She is the undisputed queen of making people homeless for profit, and she has the process down to a fine, brutal art. In South Africa, you can't just kick a tenant out. There's a legal process. It involves written notices, court orders, and the sheriff of the court. It's designed to protect people from being thrown onto the street without due process. Mrs. Peters thinks the law is a cute suggestion. Her process is much faster. It usually involves showing up with a few large, intimidating men, changing the locks while the tenant is at work, and dumping all their worldly possessions on the pavement. All completely, outrageously illegal. She often targets tenants who are just a few days late with rent. Not a month, not 2 months, a few days. Maybe their salary was paid late. Maybe they had a family emergency. For Mrs. Peters, there's no room for humanity. A tenant once told us she was 2 days late because her child was in the hospital. She communicated this to Mrs. Peters. She came home from the hospital to find her apartment locked, and her furniture, her child's toys, and her personal documents sitting in the rain. That's not business. That's pure sadism. Her corruption is twofold. First, there's the flagrant breaking of the Prevention of Illegal Eviction Act, or PIE Act. She knows what she's doing is against the law, but she also knows that many tenants don't. She'll wave fake homemade eviction notices in their faces, shouting legal-sounding jargon to confuse and scare them into leaving. She relies on their ignorance and fear. It's a scam, but one with devastating real-world consequences for the families she displaces. Second, when she is challenged, she allegedly has connections that make problems disappear. We've heard whispers that she has a friend at the local police station who will dismiss tenants' complaints as a civil matter, refusing to open a case. This creates a shield of impunity around her. Tenants are left with nowhere to turn. The very people who are supposed to uphold the law are, in this alleged scenario, helping her break it. Mrs. Peters isn't just a rogue landlord, she's a symptom of a system that can be bent and broken by those with the right connections and a complete lack of a moral compass. For our number 6 spot, we travel to the mining city of Welkom, where we find a landlord who has weaponized a basic human right: water. Let's call him Mr. Botha. He owns several blocks of flats, and his preferred method of control and punishment is simply turning off the taps. Not for an hour, not for a day, for weeks. He uses water as a tool of collective punishment, creating a humanitarian crisis within his own properties to enforce his will. Mr. Botha's logic is as twisted as his plumbing. If 1 or 2 tenants in a building of 50 are late with their rent, he doesn't deal with them individually. No, that would be too much work. Instead, he cuts off the water supply to the entire building. He punishes everyone for the sins of a few. Families with newborn babies, elderly residents, people with medical conditions, none of it matters. Everyone suffers. He pits neighbor against neighbor, creating a toxic environment where desperate tenants start policing each other. Imagine the reality of this. You can't shower, you can't cook, you can't flush your toilet, the stench becomes unbearable. The risk of disease like cholera or dysentery skyrockets. People are forced to buy expensive bottled water for everything, or carry heavy buckets from public taps miles away. It's a daily struggle for survival, imposed by one man's greed and laziness. He holds entire communities hostage, treating them like disobedient children rather than paying customers who have rights. The corruption here is blatant. The Rental Housing Act and municipal bylaws are crystal clear. It is illegal for a landlord to disconnect utilities like water or electricity as a way to collect rent or evict a tenant. It's considered a constructive eviction, but Mr. Botha acts as if he is a law unto himself. He knows that taking him to the tribunal is a slow process, and in the meantime, people need to wash. He's betting that their desperation for water will be a more powerful motivator than their knowledge of the law. He justifies his actions by claiming the municipality is cutting him off for non-payment, but tenants have investigated and found that the municipal account is often paid up. The shutoff is internal. It's him, in the basement, turning a valve. He lies to create a smokescreen for his illegal and inhumane tactics. Mr. Botha isn't just a landlord, he's a warlord presiding over a tiny, thirsty kingdom. He's earned his number 6 spot by turning an essential resource into an instrument of torture. At number 7, we expose a landlord in Polokwane whose scheme is so audacious, you almost have to admire the nerve. We'll call him the Duke. His racket is simple. He rents out properties he doesn't own. I'm not talking about subletting. I'm talking about identifying vacant houses, breaking in, changing the locks, and then posing as the landlord or agent to unsuspecting renters. He is a con artist of the highest order, operating a real-life property Ponzi scheme. Here's how the Duke's scam works. He targets houses that are standing empty. Maybe the owner is overseas, maybe it's a deceased estate stuck in legal limbo. He does his homework. He forges ownership documents and creates fake rental agent credentials that look incredibly convincing. He then lists the property online, usually for a slightly below market rent to attract a lot of interest and create a sense of urgency. People feel like they're getting a great deal. He'll meet with prospective tenants, give them a tour, and put on a masterclass performance as a professional, trustworthy agent. He'll have a lease agreement ready to go. He collects the first month's rent and a hefty deposit, all in cash, of course. The happy tenants move in, thrilled with their new home. For a month or two, everything seems perfect. The Duke has vanished, but they have a house, right? The problem starts when the real owner, or the real agent, shows up. Imagine the scene. You're sitting in your living room, and a stranger unlocks your front door and walks in, looking just as confused as you are. Who are you? What are you doing in my house? The horrifying truth slowly dawns on everyone. The tenants have been scammed. They've paid thousands of rands to a ghost. Now they're in a legal nightmare, facing eviction from a home they thought was theirs, and their deposit and rent money are long gone. The Duke has swindled both the tenant and the property owner. This is a particularly cruel form of corruption because it exploits the trust that is fundamental to the rental process. The Duke sells people a dream and delivers a catastrophe. We found cases where he had rented the same house to 3 different families, collecting deposits from all of them before disappearing. He leaves behind a trail of financial ruin and emotional devastation. He's number 7 on our list because his entire business is a lie, built on fraud from the ground up, preying on people's fundamental need for a home. Our number 8 spot goes to a particularly vile type of landlord who exploits the government's own housing programs. In townships like Soweto, we find the RDP Racketeer. RDP houses are built by the government and given to low-income families for free, to own. The title deed states clearly that these houses cannot be sold or rented out for a period of 8 years. This is to prevent people from immediately flipping them for cash. But our racketeer doesn't care about rules. This landlord, often a local strongman or gangster, preys on the original RDP beneficiaries. They might approach a family that is struggling financially and offer them a small lump sum, say 20,000 rand, in cash for their house. To a family in desperate need, this can seem like a lottery win. They don't have the title deed yet, or don't understand the legalities, so they agree. The racketeer takes control of the house, illegally, and the family is often left with nothing and nowhere to go once the cash runs out. Now the racketeer owns a portfolio of these RDP houses. He then rents them out to other desperate people, charging exorbitant rents. He's a slumlord in a government-subsidized property. He pays nothing for the asset, so every cent of rent is pure profit. He's not just breaking the law, he's hijacking a social upliftment program designed to help the poor and turning it into his personal ATM. He is stealing from the poor to rent to the poor. And because his entire operation is illegal, there are no rules. The tenants in these RDP houses have zero rights. If they complain about a burst pipe or a faulty wire, the racketeer's response is simple: pay up or get out. He uses intimidation and violence to enforce his leases. He is the law. He is the housing tribunal. He is the sheriff. He operates in a parallel legal universe where his word is final and backed up by the threat of force. This corruption is a cancer on the community. It undermines the very purpose of RDP housing, which is to build stable communities and give people a foothold on the property ladder. Instead, the racketeer creates a transient, fearful population of tenants with no security. He steals from the state, he exploits the original beneficiaries, and he abuses his tenants. It's a trifecta of corruption that robs people of their homes, their money, and their hope, earning this type of landlord a firm spot at number 8. Nearing the top of our list, at number 9, we find a different kind of monster. This isn't your typical slumlord, this one wears a suit. We're in the affluent suburbs of Umhlanga, in a fancy high-security complex with a pool and a gym. Our villain is the chairperson of the body corporate, a man who has twisted the rules of sectional title living to become a petty dictator. Let's call him Mr. Henderson. He doesn't own the apartments, but he controls the lives of everyone in them, especially the tenants. A body corporate is supposed to be a democratic body that manages the common property for the benefit of all owners. But under Mr. Henderson, it has become his personal fiefdom. He uses the complex's rules and bylaws not to maintain order but to harass and extort tenants. He has an army of security guards who act as his personal spies, reporting on every minor infraction. Did your child laugh too loudly at the pool? That's a 500 rand fine. Did you have 2 extra guests for a braai? That's a 1,000 rand fine. The fines are arbitrary, exorbitant, and often completely invented. Here's where the corruption gets deep. These fines are levied against the owner of the apartment, who then passes them on to the tenant. If the tenant refuses to pay these ridiculous fines, Mr. Henderson starts a campaign of harassment against the owner. He'll threaten them with legal action, block their access cards, and make their life hell until they force the tenant to pay or evict them. He effectively forces landlords to become his enforcers. He turns neighbors against each other, creating a climate of fear and paranoia. But what does he do with all this fine money? Good question. The body corporate's finances are notoriously opaque. Requests from owners to see the books are met with hostility and stonewalling. There are widespread suspicions that Mr. Henderson and his cronies on the board are skimming from the top, using the fine money and the monthly levies for their own personal enrichment. We've heard stories of contracts for garden maintenance or security upgrades being awarded to companies owned by his friends and family at inflated prices. Mr. Henderson represents the insidious white-collar version of landlord corruption. He uses bureaucracy and procedure as his weapons. He has turned a luxury complex into a high-priced prison where tenants are treated like criminals. He abuses his position of power not just for financial gain, but seemingly for the sheer pleasure of controlling people's lives. He's on this list because he proves that corruption can wear a clean shirt and a smug smile, and can make your life miserable, even when you're paying 20,000 rand a month in rent. And here we are. The #1 most corrupt landlord in South Africa. This isn't just one person, but a powerful and shadowy property syndicate operating across Johannesburg. They are the final boss of slumlords. They own hundreds of hijacked buildings in the inner city. Buildings that have been illegally seized from their rightful owners, often through force and intimidation. They are a property mafia, running a multi-million rand empire built on human misery. Their business model is terrifyingly effective. They identify buildings that are in arrears with the city or have absentee landlords. Then, their enforcers move in, violently ousting the existing security or tenants and seizing control. The building is now theirs. The rightful owner is locked out, facing a long, expensive, and often dangerous legal battle to get their property back. Most give up. The syndicate now has a new asset that they acquired for free. Once they have the building, they begin the process of extreme exploitation. They don't do any maintenance at all. Lifts are broken, water pumps fail, and sewage flows down the stairwells. The buildings become death traps, with illegal electricity connections causing frequent fires. But it's a numbers game for them. They cram as many people as possible into each unit, charging rent per person. A single one-bedroom flat can generate 15,000 rand a month. And a whole building can bring in hundreds of thousands of rands in untaxed cash every single month. This syndicate is notoriously violent. They employ armed gangs to manage their buildings and collect rent. Tenants who can't pay are not evicted. They are beaten and thrown out. People who complain or try to organize are threatened or worse. They operate with total impunity, allegedly with police and city officials on their payroll. This is not just a housing issue. It is organized crime on a massive scale, with deep roots of corruption that paralyze any attempt to stop them. This syndicate is #1 because they represent the absolute worst of everything we've seen on this list, magnified 100 times over. They combine the negligence of Mr. Davies, the intimidation of Mrs. Peters, the overcrowding of Mr. Hassan, and the illegality of the Duke into one massive, terrifying operation. They are responsible for the decay of entire city blocks, and they profit from the suffering of thousands of the most vulnerable people in society. They are not just corrupt landlords, they are a threat to the very fabric of the city. And there you have it. 10 stories, 10 examples of how greed and a lack of humanity can turn a home into a hell. From disappearing deposits to full-blown property mafias, the landscape for renters in South Africa can be a minefield. These landlords and syndicates thrive on one thing above all else: your silence and your lack of knowledge. They are betting on you not knowing your rights, being too afraid to speak up, or simply giving up because the system seems too daunting to navigate. We cannot let them win that bet. The first step is always knowledge. Remember, always know your rights as a tenant. You have the right to a safe and healthy living environment. You have the right to privacy. You have the right to not have your services cut off illegally. You have the right to your full deposit back, minus the reasonable cost of repairs. These rights are enshrined in law. Familiarize yourself with the Rental Housing Act. Contact organizations like the Socioeconomic Rights Institute or your local legal aid clinic. They are there to help you. This fight is not easy, but it's essential. Every tenant who stands up, every case that's reported, every slumlord that's exposed, chips away at this culture of impunity. Stay informed and stay safe. Share this video, talk to your neighbors, form tenants' unions in your buildings. There is power in community. Thank you for watching, for getting angry with me, and for being willing to shine a light on these dark corners. Subscribe for more exposés.